I'm not using a clicker. Let me quickly. I'll try and keep it as painless as possible because it's the last one. It's kind of powerful place. Considering the bar is going to open, I can keep you as long as I want, but I won't. Just being nice, ethical hackers. Right. So one of the stuff that I want to say is I am a trained graphic designer. I studied graphic design ages before computer was ever there doing graphic design. 86 is when I started studying graphic design, right? So I'm not going to talk about graphic design. From that, I've kind of evolved to being a part of a founder of a company called Catney, which is in Texas. We do two products. One is called Mira Mira, which helps kids find out what they want to do in life. And Maya Maya is another product that helps companies put teams together that are great, that works together very well. Okay, I'm not here to sell these products, but I want to kind of give you the context for it. I think this larger idea of artificial intelligence per se, everybody talks about it, nobody knows about it. It's like the fantastic thing that people said, somebody said, right? Machine language is written in Python, artificial intelligence is written in PowerPoint, which is true. Because nobody knows what the hell it is, they just put it in PowerPoint. That's broadly what the stuff is. So there is machine language, the large language models, natural language processing, and then there is something called generative AI. I'm not going to talk about all this because I've got no clue about all this. Though I'm a founder of a company which does all this. I'm going to talk about generative AI. Generative AI is what we kind of know, everybody talks about it in interesting ways, which is actually ChatGPT, Midjourney, DALL-E. If you do not know, I'm going to have a list of stuff at the end of it. We'll talk about that further. But all these tools are pretty useless unless we use them. So Vinod and I had a conversation about me doing this talk about a month back, and promptly about a week back I forgot about it. I didn't even know that I had to do a talk. So while I was talking to Vinod, so do I have to do something on 13th was my question, right? So that's my confession. I didn't know this was going to happen. So what I actually did was this. I thought I will take a standard design process of how you would do a piece of packaging and see if we can use if you can use artificial intelligence, generative AI programs to actually make this better. So I actually took one day, I'm walking you through that one day, which I used to do a bunch of things, which just might be interesting for you. If not, you can throw me out for this. That's largely what this, so it's nicely, and I found this thing quite interesting, that it's called Printelligence. It's AI for print and packaging. I'm going to show you some stuff of how we can use some products that's available with us right now for predominantly design of print and packaging. The first thing that we need to know is any business is a brand. Any business, I think we've had enough of talk about brands, and I think first we want to understand that any business, any product that we do, anything we want to sell is a brand, because that's what you're selling eventually. A brand is the experience of it. A packaging is a part of that experience. You will remember the way you open something and how painful it is or how easy it is, how frustrating the stuff is that you can't reach the chocolate on time, as if life depends on it. But still, it's important for us to kind of go through these experiences, and a lot of good companies that actually run brand think about it a lot. Cigarette makers talk a lot about how the thread is opened around a cigarette pack a lot, because that's supposed to be a part of the experience of actually reaching your cigarette. So every brand, every packaging, everything that you do is an experience. Experience can be visual, it can be interactive and usable too. So we need to kind of consider that. A brand design scope is humongous, right? Like when you actually take a brand, you actually look at what all does it contain. There is the digital, there is offline. Offline, what I mean offline is that non-digital, right? This is virtual, this is real. And then you got electronic media, print, and then we've got the entire digital area, which is broken into content, commerce, mobile, social, advertisement. Hopefully if you take one brand, you've got to cover ground on all of these so that the brand looks substantially big enough and you actually make a worthwhile business out of it. But we are not going to talk about all this. We are going to talk about this corner, which you can't probably see this side, but it basically reads that it's about how promotion, instruction, information, and adverts in print can convert the brand into something worthwhile, right? Like, so that is the largest scope of what we're going to talk. I'm kind of coming from 30,000 feet slowly down to the 3,000 or the 300, right? Then we actually talk about the print or the packaging process. Whenever we actually, there are some designers, the crowd selectors here, whenever we are given a project saying that go do this, hopefully all of us do it this way. I wouldn't promise this for other people, but I know a lot of people who I know do it this way. Which is, first you kind of do the research of understanding a bunch of things which is about the brand. It's about understanding the, what is the ambition, what is the purpose, what is the values of the brand, who are the audience we are talking to, what is the persona that you want to have, and what is the positioning that you want to do against a bunch of competition that you actually, all that is the research part. That's the front of anything that you want to start. This will typically arrive to us as a brief. It will actually be somebody in the marketing team or somebody in my client's team, hopefully intelligent enough to give me a brief, will come back with something called as the brief, and that's what I'll get. Now, there are three things they expect me to do. They expect me to do the concept, hopefully the content that needs to go into it, and eventually the design, which can lead to the testing and then the production, which is the last one, which is somewhere here. So if I actually look at the concept has got the basic concept of where do we want the departure point to be? How should I think for this? Where do I start thinking about this stuff? Because this is at some point of time, Sonali had mentioned this idea of telegraphies. This is actually deconstructing their telegraphies. Like, how do I arrive at that green color? There should be some logic, some meaning, some reason to do it. That's what kind of lies in that basic concept stuff. Wireframes are kind of structurally giving it some kind of a semblance towards the end product. It's the construction of the stuff. The last one is a blind prototype. Do you want it to be a box? Do you want it to be a pouch? Do you want it to fold this way? So you will do a blind prototype. What a blind prototype means is that you're not put pictures or text on top of it, but you've folded it and seen that it's working. That's a blind prototype. That's the first part. The second part is the content. There is an inventory of content that you need to have. There is a bunch of statutory information that has to go on a packaging. Otherwise, it'll come with a gun at you. Right? So that's a statutory information. There is including stuff like price, FPO, things that have got to be stamped, things that have got to screen, things that have got to warn you. Those are all statutory information. Then there is the information, instructions, and emotive content that needs to go onto the packaging itself. That's the first round of content. Then there is the schema. How much will it contain? How many images can I put? How much space do I have? Can I put 18 images on my package? Probably not. Can I put one? How big will it be? If I use text, how much text I've got? That's the schema. The third part is actually creating that content, right? Then there is the design, the brand expression, the visual design templates, the working prototype. Finally, this is how it's going to work, look. Then you leave it for testing. Put it somewhere to see whether it or send it to Sonali's team to get the stuff tested. So that's broadly what we are talking about. Now, what I did was took this thing and said, like, let me put this stuff through AI. Can I actually try a few things in AI and actually build this part together? You guys have got to excuse the quality of this design, okay? It's done in one day. I generally take more than 2 weeks to kind of do something like that. But then let's see it all the same. The first thing is the research. I haven't done any AI in this. This is again to kind of tell you what things mean. Let me walk you through what these things are. Ambition. Ambition is broadly about, okay, you're doing a product. What do you want the product to do in 5 years? 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. As packaging people who are part of the production pieces, you should also be a part of that. You should also know the experience. What can you make? What is so innovative about that? That becomes the brand. There are so many packaging pieces that has become the brand. You know, the way you open becomes the brand. Like, for example, one of the stuff that I can think of is Tic Tac. If you pop that stuff open, Tic Tac, yes, that's the only way you could open those things, and it's so much fun. I mean, it became fun eventually, right? Like, there was a whole bunch of those kind of things that experience becomes the brand, right? And that kind of falls in the ambition part. Purpose, what exactly is it? how will it work, and why should it even exist, is something that you will kind of think of. Because it's got to run a long way. It's got to actually run much longer than you would. So it's important to think of that. Values, I'll omit that. It's too much of discussion. I won't talk about it right now. Audience, you know who the audience are. You want to sell a Tic Tac to a bunch of people who think their breath smells, but they want to walk into a meeting. Right? But the broader aspect of that stuff is, so where are they from? They're probably the people who are trying to impress their bosses. They are between the 25 to 32-year-old category. They are middle management who want to grow further. So you can go on. You can push on and on. You can do research on it. That's the audience. The important stuff is the audience can end with the categorization of saying that this guy is rural, urban, this type of urban, and finish. That's not true. It's actually based on the intent and the behavior of the audience, really. And that's what we need to kind of work on. The last one, not the last, but one is the persona. If there is a brand, how do you want the brand to be? Like, for example, if you actually look at a brand like Harley Davidson, it's actually considered as a rebel brand, right? It's called as an outlaw brand. The same thing, quickly Enfield took that same brand, right? Like if you actually look at a brand like 5-Star, it's a jester brand. Ramesh and Suresh, characters who come and talk to you, are a funny bunch of guys. They actually are making this brand funny. That's the persona of the brand. So each of the brand has its own persona. It's built on that. It's important to kind of know about that. The last one is positioning. You've got to understand who the competition is, who the competition are, and how are you different. Including the packaging, the graphics, and everything. Like for example, the planogramming that they were talking about earlier, that you go and walk into a supermarket and look at your product pop or not pop or merge with the background, is a part of the stuff where you study how the positioning is done. This is the starting point. This is research. It typically comes as a brief. We don't need to use AI in that. We'll start using AI here. Think wide, think deep, which we are very bad at anyway. So we'll kind of start there. Like we are looking at the process of what is the basic concept, what is the departure point for creatives, and how will it look as a structure. So I want to talk here about this concept called prompt. We all have used ChatGPT and we all have given prompts. There are brilliant methods of actually doing prompts. There is this fabulous frameworks that help you do prompts very well. There is one called COAST, which actually talks about, COAST is basically an abbreviation of C is for context, O is for overview, A is for action, S blah blah blah. There are plenty of stuff that is available like that help you formulate prompts. So I wrote a prompt. That actually, how can I actually start using strategy design and develop a primary package design? Sorry, I haven't got to the prompt yet. The first problem statement let me list is this. I want to actually strategize, design and develop a primary package design for a coffee beans from South India. This is a real problem that a friend of mine has. So I thought I'll put it through this stuff. Then I went and wrote a prompt. Shiva is writing to ChatGPT. I'm going to read this out because it's important. After this, I promise I won't read everything on screen. Because otherwise the bar will be open. As a brand owner, I want you to generate a brief for a small batch exclusive South Indian coffee. I'm telling ChatGPT, please remember that I'm talking to a machine and assuming that's a person that I'm talking to. As a brand owner, I'm telling the machine that you're the brand owner. I want you to generate a brief for a small batch exclusive South Indian coffee from a single estate in Chikmagalur. But before starting on this, ask me 10 questions about the brand to write the brief. If you understand, say yes. This is what I wrote. And ChatGPT is not bad. That's the first prompt that I gave. ChatGPT says, yes, I understand. Please provide me with some information about your brand and coffee, and gives me 10 questions. Brilliantly gives me 10 questions. I'll read an arbitrarily in-between question, right? Are there any particular sustainability or ethical sourcing practices you would like to incorporate into your brand? I didn't say ChatGPT to ask me that. Pretty cool. It's really cool. It gives some structure. Actually the artificial intelligence is good because natural stupidity is everywhere. And that's the difference. That's why artificial intelligence is good. right? And these are all small pesticides against natural stupidity. That's all is there to it. It just gives you structure, gives you a method to think. Just read through it. It actually writes a brief based on this. I give all the answers for this. I haven't given you the answer stuff, but it writes a brief for me. It says brand name is Kempamane. Kempamane, incidentally, in Kannada, I don't know how many people know, it's a red house. I actually wanted to keep it that way. It's quite interesting. So on and so forth. So it's a finest organic coffee, blah, blah, blah. It actually tells me single origin, Chikmagalur, roast level is what. All the stuff it is given to me based on the questions that I answered. So eventually, I go to the stuff and, there is one more, yeah, that's correct. I go to the stuff and I actually use a program called Pactora. I'm sure if you guys haven't seen it, please see it. It's quite interesting. Pactora is an interesting product online which gives you the size of a packaging and the wireframe and the mock-up for it based on how much you want to pack. It's pretty cool. It's paid, but it's good. It's really good. So and you can customize it. You can actually you can't see it well, but you can pretty much set up a package, resize it, do whatever the hell you want to, and create a mock-up, create the wires, the die cut for it too. You can take the die cut to production. It's as good as that. So I kind of use Pactora. Not that I'm going to produce this yet, but I use Pactora to kind of come up with that, right? So eventually I kind of decided, once I got this basic idea, I thought that my departure point, this is that morning at 11 o'clock. I started work at like some 10, right? So I say the departure point has got to be three things: authenticity, tradition, and natural organic, right? So that's broadly where the three departure points are. Those are my design principles. So with that, I actually go to the next one. I want to actually write some content now, or get ChatGPT to write me some content. Content has got those three parts. Forget about these three parts. I'll jump to the ChatGPT and say this. I'm going to actually say, based on this brief that you have given me, can you please write the brand informational content and instructions that need to go on the packaging? The tonality should be higher quality and premium style, and it should not exceed 200 words. It gives me 200 words of copy. 200 words of copy that says Kempamane, the finest organic coffee, blah, 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 gives me the legend, gives me everything. And I'm saying that while you're at it, because you don't want to waste ChatGPT's energy level, while you're at it, give me 10 options for the names too. Not that I'm going to change it, but while you're at it, might as well use it, right? So it gives me 10 options for the name, like Chikmagalur Heritage Brew and Western Ghats Reserve and stuff like that. Pretty cool. It's not bad at all, not bad at all. So that is where the content goes, right? Content, we know, it's clearly got to do these three things on a packaging or any print, but packaging importantly. It's got to inform, it's got to tell me what that stuff is. It has got, the second thing, it's got to emote, because I've got to feel good about that stuff. Feel is an important word, I've got to feel good about it. And the third is it's got to instruct. If it is coffee bean, what's the best way to brew the coffee is something it's got to tell me. It's got to tell me there, here too, which is all instructions. So it's got to do those three things. And those content, ChatGPT can give you. So they can, if your prompt is good, right? Then we actually go to the visual design. Explore your mind of some. I actually go to the last part, which is how do you want the, how do you want the brand expression to be? What are the visual elements of the brand, color, type, imagery? How do you want to think about it? I took the first design principle. This is like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Not hungry anymore, I had my lunch, came and sat with it and said like, listen, can you actually tell me what we can do with authenticity? So I wrote a prompt for authenticity, which is, in Midjourney, this is Midjourney, I moved to the picture stuff, the generative AI picture stuff, right? A photorealistic drone shot landscape of a coffee plantation in the Western Ghats, because it's authenticity. I want to show that this is from probably this estate and nothing else. Of South India, with a traditional Indian red house in the distance, with pretty clouds in the sky on a sunny day. AR, incidentally, is aspect ratio is 9:16. I just gave a vertical aspect ratio. We'll figure it out as we go. And then there is a seed. Seed is interesting. Seed is something, if I want the same picture to be changed a little bit, I can use the seed again and again. It's a pretty cool idea, right? So I gave a seed. Then it gives me pictures. Look at this. It gives me absolutely beautiful options of that stuff that I'm kind of talking about. I take one of them, upload. It's also dumb. Because I said drone, it puts a drone in the picture. Totally dumb. So that's what you've got to understand. If I'm not there, this is crap. I make this work better. That's something that you got to understand. So eventually I choose a picture. I choose this picture. I choose a picture and then I take it and then I start putting that stuff. Incidentally, Midjourney has got a beautiful way in which if I actually change the aspect, tomorrow if I were to use a stuff on a banner, a horizontal billboard, I can extend it. That's what I wanted to show you guys, that I can extend it, which is called outpainting. You can outpaint this endlessly. You can outpaint it for 3 kilometers further with bunches of stuff, and of course you can use other AI tools to take all the other red houses off, if you don't want them. Yeah, if at all it makes more red houses, right? And then I put them in some kind of an order. This is my work. Honest to God. But the interesting thing is this. I did one. I just did this. Okay, don't go by this design. Not that I'm very happy with it, but it's a great thing to say. Like 4 o'clock, I have this stuff ready. I have this ready. You know, not for one, for many more. I'll show you that. This is, I actually do this, right? And I go to Adobe Illustrator and it's got this new fancy thing called Sensei, which is inbuilt. Right? It's a beta. Sensei is inbuilt. I can actually go and tell Adobe Illustrator that, you know, natural earthy hues, that whatever with coffee, chocolate and plantation landscape, give me some color options. It gives me 4 color options. It does that. This is inside Adobe Illustrator. Photoshop does that too, by the way. Sensei is something that Adobe's been working for a long time, which is an AI which is integrable with this stuff, and it's integrated already. Beta is available and people can use it in your teams. So that's what that is. Eventually I put this together as a single packaging. All the text is authentic. I can actually mock this package out because I got the Packdora open stuff of this. I can print it, cut it, mock it, pin it, put it on a place and ask people, how do you feel about this? And I can do this to all the 3 of them or 4 of them that I have done. That evening. Morning I started the project, right? Just to give you the time thing. I'm being unnecessarily dramatic, but it makes a difference. The next design principle that I took was tradition. I took this tradition design principle and I said, like, which is the closest thing that I can go to. I mean, I think Kantara is very popular and everybody is talking about that kind of stuff. So I said, why don't I actually use, I won't go to the Kantara extreme of that stuff. Why don't I use something that is traditional with a kind of a thing of red, and thought of using Yakshagana as a concept. It's a great traditional concept that is there. It's a dance form, it'll be brilliant. So I actually used this, a close-up of Yakshagana performer in red dynamic brush strokes, so watercolor with color splatter on a clear white background is what I wanted. You know what AR and stuff are. I didn't put a seed on this, so I get these pictures out of that. Right? It's absolutely brilliant, ravishing looking things. And then I took that and did that. That's my work, by the way. That is not AI. So I created another method of this stuff, authentic, all the text is in the same place. I can mock the stuff up, put it in front of people, and they can say they like it, don't like it, and you can mark the stuff up, right? Like, so that's the second one. Third is natural and organic. I want to show you the variety of possibilities that one can do. I mean, you can do more. I'm not doing more because I didn't have that time. I had only one day. I wanted to finish it that evening, right? So the third one was this. I wanted to use the natural and organic stuff. There's a great artist called Henry Rousseau who actually used to do these beautiful paintings of forest and tiger. I mean, AI doesn't know it, I know it. So I actually told AI to kind of think about it that way, right? A pen and ink watercolor illustration of coffee plants, flowers with a forest background, with butterflies flying around and monkeys in the trees in the style of Henry Rousseau. 9:16. The same thing. And of course, for some odd reason, it forgot the monkey, but the rest is all there. Right? It's very beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful, ravishing looking things. And it's an illustration idea. I'm not good at illustrations. If I actually had to do these replications, I mean, we'll come to that anyway. But I actually took that and slapped it on a package, right? And then I actually created this stuff to you can put it in front of people again and ask them whether they like it, how much do they like it or not, right? That's the deal. That's the stuff. So I did 1, 2, and 3 in clearly starting at 9 in the morning, 5 o'clock in the evening. I had 3 things that can be put to test, right? Production ready, using the process that I generally use all the time, take it to testing, which I want to. Will I actually do it in one day? Questionable. I'll probably not do it even if I have the tool. But I'm dramatizing it so that you guys can understand the power of a tool like this, right? This is what they call as the dramatic illustration created by the artist, right? So not the tool thing, but that's what it is. There is more AI work, generative AI work that I do, predominantly the area of theater posters. Some of the people who are here, who were there last time, have seen this work. This is with Midjourney 4.0. These are all theater posters done with 4.0 Midjourney. Now Midjourney is at 5.3. It's way more evolved, way more realistic. I'll show you some examples. These are all done with the earlier version of this. Lot has been done with the new ones. Incidentally, I just wanted to put this in place. This doesn't use any AI at all. This is completely constructed by me. This is typography, and the stuff is constructed in isometry. These AI used stuff. These are actually derived out of AI, and so on, right? And these are done out of 5.2. 5.2 gives you way more realistic and beautiful work at the end of it. So let me actually close this by saying this, right? It does shit work. You can see that stuff. It's really bad. Look at the type that it does. It can do stuff like that too, but it's us who got to curate it. We need to know how to curate it. Look at that. That's so horrible, right? It looks like something that has been done in the 70s or something, right? Cannot replace human intelligence. AI, according to me, is not artificial intelligence, it's augmented intelligence. It's me plus AI. That's the way it works. It will not work if it is just AI. Samples of atrocious works with AI are these. There is more. I didn't put it up because they are quite atrocious, right? It's great at automating or integrating in a workflow. You actually think of a process and you want to actually use AI in automating specific parts. It's brilliant at it. And especially if there is a team and you want to build it as a part of your process, it's brilliant. It's really good at it. And you can control your stuff very well. It's bad as a standalone individual contributor. It can never contribute by itself. Unless we know how to use it, it can never be an individual contributor, right? It's a good thing to do is to integrate it into the design process, test it faster, fail faster, iterate faster, which you can do because your time is crunched down to phenomenal ways. And you can future-proof your design practice, because tomorrow there is going to be a design bunch coming up and saying that, do you guys use AI? You will be saying no. That's not a good thing to do. You better be saying yes and say how. And that's kind of important. The tools that I used predominantly are ChatGPT, OSS AI. I don't want to explain what these things are. You guys take a picture and you can see what these things are. Pacdora is important, Midjourney, Sensei, Firefly, Photoshop AI Beta, Illustrator Beta, Pebble-E. I didn't put that work out. Pebble-E creates fantastic pack shots, the best pack shots ever. It actually can take that coffee pack. I had one which was very ugly, I didn't put it up, but basically takes any coffee pack that I design and I can put it on a snow background if I want to. All that kind of stuff it can do. Neural.love is interesting. It's an enhancer. It builds 4x of your size. Any image you put it in, it will give you 4x the size of the image. So it gets great quality. It extrapolates the pixels and interpolates the pixels and gives you fantastic quality. The last one is Dream Studio by Stability. Again, does a lot of great work in interpolation and We are also, Vinod is a person who's been pushing me hard to do this. We are also trying to do some workshops of sort, which actually is with design teams to actually use AI during a process. I mean, this is work that I did in a day, and I am not a great designer. There are much better people than I am. I'm old foggy. There are a lot of younger, much nicer people who can do great work with this stuff. And we've been pushing for a workshop. If any of you are interested, you can get in touch with Vinod, or you can mail me and we can take this forward in some way or the other. Thank you.